All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. We got Donnie Moser in the house today. Thanks for joining us, bro.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's a privilege to have you on. So let me give this guy a little intro before I tell you, the little bit of beef I got with this guy because he kicked my butt in some sales competitions. And no, we had the privilege of working together at Aptive, and the very few people beat me on some of those competitions. Donnie is like one of them. And Donnie is a phenomenal sales guy, recruiter, and most importantly to me, like leader. And not just in sales. So excited to have you on, dude. Okay, let me give you guys a quick intro. Donnie is president of sales at Aptive. Okay, and so to put this in perspective, the partners at Aptive make 1 to 2.5 million. Okay,
Right.
and he oversees all leadership training, sales training area, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how long have
That's
you been
about
with?
right.
How long have you been in the company?
10 years.
A decade.
Yeah.
Decade strong. I like it.
Yeah. It went so fast.
It's wild. So Aptive has 2,000 reps with the partnership at Grit. You guys have about 2,500 cumulatively. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Sixth largest residential pest control company in America. And for direct sales, door to door, you guys are number one.
That's right.
You guys have been number one for a while.
It's been a long time.
Like since 2018 ish.
I don't even know. It's been
around there.
almost as long as I can remember.
I love it, dude.
You know?
So what I love about you, Donnie, is we were talking about this right before we started, was like you've done so much in sales. And I want to talk about your biggest year too, like selling. And then, dude, you've ran 9 Ironmans, 5 half Ironmans, and then 4 full Ironmans.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's been a crazy ride.
Why is that? Like we were just talking about this a little bit beforehand, and how salespeople don't push themselves enough outside of their sales goals.
Yeah.
Tell me why you push yourself like that.
That's a good question. So at the beginning of my career, I was just so locked in on sales. Like sales was the only thing that I did. It was the only thing I cared about. It was I just grinded and grinded and grinded early on. And then all of a sudden, like 5 years in, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 33% body fat and 200 pounds and I'm 5'8", and I'm like, this is not good. And so I decided, okay, I've got to make sure that I'm like taking care of myself, because what's the point of making money? What's the point of having a career if you're unhappy,
Yeah.
or if you're unable to live a long time?
Yeah.
So I immediately, I literally remember the day I got on the scale and I was 198 pounds, and I was like, I don't want to get over 200. Like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And so I immediately started like a diet and a transformation, transform my body. And then after that, it was like, okay, what more can I do to expand my mind, expand my work ethic, expand my like ability in my brain to like have more endurance, you know?
Yeah.
And so I found that, demanding of myself, physical endurance sports was a good way to kind of like get my brain expanding and get my brain fixed. So like I believe in I believe in this thing that I made up called the 5 pillars.
Okay.
And the first pillar is all about goals and habits. But then, it's how can you increase your work ethic and how can you increase your um, mental toughness. Then you got your attitude, and you got like the technical skills at hand, right?
Right. Those are the
So
5.
those are the 5.
Okay.
So, obviously I was really good at setting goals and habits, but number 2, the work ethic and the mental toughness part, how do you actually increase that outside of sales? How do you work on something to expand your brain power in a different area so that it translates back into your work, translates back into your family, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, the physical realm was where I really tried to focus.
I love that. I think it's a great, there's 3 major areas in my life. It's health, wealth, and then relationships. And I used to have that limiting belief where I've got to hit all my financial goals, all my sales goals. I was that guy. I put the family on the back burner, didn't prioritize my health. For me, it wasn't like I was not getting too big. It was, I was getting too skinny. And so I kept seeing the scale go down. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. My biggest year at Aptive, I was like 168 pounds, just like a twig for 6'1", now I'm 207 pounds. But yeah, it's cool that you don't have to, from my experience, you don't have to choose between your health and then your like a health goal related goal and then your sales goals.
No, it's all interrelated.
Yeah.
It's all interrelated. Like you've got to be taking care of yourself to be able to give maximum effort. and the things that you want to. There's this quote that I came by by Vince Lombardi,
Yeah.
and he says that fatigue makes cowards of us all.
Uh,
And man, like what a true statement, right? You
yeah.
get home from work and you're tired, and so you can't give to your kids at the level that you want to give to your
So true.
kids. You know, you're out working and you get tired, you're like pouring caffeine down your body, and
Yep.
so unhealthy, right?
Yep.
So being able to be physically fit and being able to expand your endurance and your mental endurance enables you to be better at work, enables you to be better with your family, and enables you to be better, your hobbies. If you're able to just take care of all that, it all interflows.
Yeah.
If you're not financially doing well, then you're gonna be stressed out,
Yeah.
and you're gonna take it out on your family and on your physical goals,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And if you don't have a good family life, then you're just going to be really unhappy in general.
Yep.
So it all flows
It
together.
does. Yeah. And I've noticed having that, your significant other, whoever it is for you, having that person like fully bought in with you is like, it gives you another level of potential.
Totally. It's all about communication,
It is.
and
Yeah.
if you have somebody by your side, like it truly does maximize who you can be.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. I said everybody gives praise to the great athletes who sacrifice everything and the great businessmen who sacrifice
Yeah.
everything. But the people who never get any like credit at all or get any accolades or awards are the good dads and the good husbands.
Mm.
Nobody ever is like, "Oh, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Look at how great his relationships are with
It's
his
sad.
kids." And
Yeah.
it is kind of sad, but that's the world we live in of social media and Instagram and media and everything just kind of being at our fingertips and in our face all the time is just success, success,
Yeah.
success, success,
Yeah.
success. And I think it's okay to slow down and make sure that things are right,
Yeah. Oh,
you
I
know?
agree. Well, dude, what I've learned is you don't have to. I mean, it's for me, it all comes down to the two biggest assets of our time and money. And but time is much more superior because you can't buy it back. You can't get it back. And so time is usually funneled into experiences, relationships, and then also takes time to build your health. And so the game for me is how can I max leverage my time with everything. And so all my limiting beliefs about my health, my relationships came down to a prioritization of time, you know? And so yeah, I think the big thing for that I've learned, and I think our audience could like take from that is you don't have to choose one or the other. You can have both. You can have success. Success to me is what, for everyone is different, but for me, it's fulfillment in all three of those areas of my life and making sure that I feel like I'm giving back and I'm impacting. And you don't have to choose between, your sales goals or your business goals and then that stuff as well. And I think you're a great example where they all funnel each other. They push you, you
Yeah,
know?
you want to overlap them, right?
Yeah.
Overlayer them.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was going super hard at work, and I would try and have, my wife bring dinner to the office, if I couldn't get home. There were times where I'd go home for dinner instead of going out, and then I'd go back to the office, but we prioritized certain things within our time. And as we communicated, obviously I was making huge sacrifices still, but as we communicated about what we were trying to accomplish together, we were able to work it out. I had this mentor back when I first started. I was 18 years old.
Okay.
My first job I was selling Cutco knives, and I had this guy named Matt Ewan who was managing me. And I remember telling him like, "Hey, I'm like really stressed out. I feel like I can't fit everything in." And he says to me, "Donnie, you can fit everything in your life that you want to fit in. You just have to prioritize it and make sure you're wasting no time."
Mm.
And I love that because a lot of times we act like we have no time,
Yep.
but how many NBA games are we watching?
Yep.
How much Netflix are we watching? I
Yeah.
have reps come up to me and they'll be like, "Hey, Donnie, have you seen this show?" Or, "Have you seen this?" Or
Yeah.
they'll say a funny joke. I'm like, "What's that from?" And they're like, "Oh, this show." And I don't know what it is. And it's because I try not to watch TV. Like that can't be a priority for me at all if I
Yeah.
want to fit everything that I want to fit into my life.
Exactly. I mean, you could lower your goals and your targets,
Yeah, you could do that.
not just
Yeah.
financial and sales, but you could also lower your expectations with your marriage. But I love that you don't settle for that. Um, for me, I think a big thing that I learned from my personal experience, Donnie, was saying yes to too many things. And it's little
Totally.
things like that, like, "Hey, dude, let's go watch the game," or "Let's go out and do X, Y, Z." Let's go take a longer lunch, whatever it is. I feel like you have to learn the skill of saying no to most things. And I remember studying Warren Buffett when I was 20 and reading that, like that's his number one tip for young people. And I'm like, what does he mean by that? And then sure enough, 8 years later, I'm like, okay, that's what he means.
Yeah.
I've seen how saying yes to too many things, especially in sales training and as you grow in a leadership position, salespeople kind of, expect too much of you, and they'll just ask if you just give. And you got to guard your time. You got to set up boundaries, and there's ways to duplicate yourself through training videos, through leadership and people. And you just have to build yourself enough to attract those people and build that kind of culture.
I can agree with you more. So one of the things that I'm most proud of in my career, I think it's probably like the biggest thing that brings me joy, is when I moved from a regional manager at Aptive, got
Mm-hmm.
promoted to president. I what we did is we actually promoted two of our division managers that were in my organization to become the partner, or the regional
Yeah.
partner for that group, and they kind of took it over,
Yeah.
and they increased from 20 to $30 million in a year.
Look at that.
And some might say like, oh, like maybe they're better than you, and like,
We'll
heck
bring it.
yeah,
Let's
like
take it. Yeah.
let's make, like,
Yeah.
I want them to be better than
Yeah.
me. I want them to do it better than me. And like the reason I'm so proud of it is because I was able to duplicate myself in a way that like kind of handed the reins off,
Yeah.
and then they were able to actually go out and accomplish more or do better or be more efficient in many different ways. And it's such a like, it's just so rewarding
Oh yeah.
to see how duplicating yourself can make an impact on
Oh
so many
dude.
people, right?
And,
Like,
and then your own health and your own family as well, because it gives you time.
yes,
And
and
yeah.
that was the key thing, is that as I was growing this region, I was never like, there were other regionals adaptive that were, they grew way faster than me out of the gate, or they
Mm,
were bigger than me.
yeah.
And I just took the strategy of, I'm going to be very methodical.
Yeah.
I'm going to work harder than everybody else.
Which you did.
I'm
I
going
can
to I'm going to
testify that.
I'm going to I'm going to stay longer, and I'm going to invest in my people and make them really really good.
Mm,
Because if I make those investments with my people and they become like little mini me's, and I can copy them and produce more of them, then eventually we'll pass everybody up. And finally, last year, they ended up being the number one group at Aptive, and I'm so proud of that, because
that's amazing,
it's
man.
just the compound effect, just little investments over
Yeah.
time, replicating ourselves, delegating, and it worked.
So what things specifically do you do to like master that delegation or the duplication?
So this is a really good question. There's so many people that ask me, or will complain. They'll say, "Hey, I hired this person, but like they're just not doing it as good as I could do it,
Yeah.
and so I'm just
Of
going to do it
course.
myself."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you hire people, there's an upfront time investment of teaching them how to do things the right way and making sure they get it right. And it's kind of tedious,
Yeah.
and it's kind of time consuming,
Yep.
and it's sometimes a little bit annoying because you could just do it yourself.
Right.
And it's a little bit scary because you could do things yourself. But if you make that time investment with your people and you teach them how to do it right up front, then you've duplicated yourself. Now,
Yeah.
how do you teach them how to do it right? You kind of have to dumb what you do down and turn it into a system to where anyone can do it.
Yep.
And then it's like building blocks, right?
Yeah.
So for the way I ran my org, it was, okay, how do I teach everybody to be as efficient as I am at doing a first meeting?
Nice.
Okay, like a first introductory recruiting hiring meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how we're going to teach it, and we're going to teach it this way, and they're going to start practicing it. And I'm going to do as many of these as I can, but if I don't have time, they're going to be forced to do their own. That
Nice.
was kind of my approach.
Yeah.
And then once they got good at it, it was like, okay, now we're going to start comparing it to basketball. It's like, okay, we're going to teach you how to dribble with the right hand and
Mhm.
the left hand. Okay, now that you can do that, let's go between the legs and around the back.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's
You can start building off things.
now let's add in the second meeting and the third meeting. Let's go
Nice.
over each objection now.
So instead of trying to teach them like a little bit about how to do the whole process, is just nail the basic thing. First meeting.
Totally.
It's just the same with our, the sales pitch. It's like, don't memorize the whole, just get the first paragraph down, then get the rest of the script down, one at a time. And then we'll start working on nonverbals, paraverbals, whatever.
Absolutely. So, now, they're called Aptive Prime, this group that They were Active Arte. They changed the name. I was a little bit heartbroken, but you know, they've got dozens and dozens and dozens of team leaders that are totally proficient at signing all reps and
Yeah.
doing it. And are they all like 10 out of 10 talented? Probably not. Hopefully not offended if they're listening.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you they're all 8 out of 10 talented or 7 out of 10. And there's
Yeah.
different varying between 7 and 10, but
Yeah.
seven's the lowest. And so
Yeah.
if you've got dozens of people, 7 out of 10, and just putting in the time and turning that crank,
Yep.
you're going to be able to scale something. So you want to make it so dumb that like any salesperson can do it. And then it's just about accountability and work.
Nice. Which I want to talk to you about both of those. Dude, one thing I've learned in my career is, the perfectionism side to an entrepreneur or a salesperson can cripple you, especially in the sense that, hey, to replace yourself or have somebody, hire somebody else, whether it's a recruit or a manager or just an assistant, if they can do it 70% as well as you, it's well worth it. That cut, that 30% is well worth the cost because it's going to free up that extra time for you to move the needle in other ways. So that's one thing I've learned that's been game changers. The 70-30 rule there, is, yeah.
I agree with you. And it's like, how are they going to get to 100? They have to start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you have to hand it off
Yeah.
and allow it.
So I think finding A players is key in any management leadership position, like bringing up like identifying A players, hiring A players, and then, in your organization, making the B players turn into A players. And then for me, C players are cancer, C for cancer. I try to avoid them. But in our realm, Donnie, where we have technically on the books, when we hire a sales rep, there's literally no risk financially if they perform poorly. So a lot of sales orgs find themselves in the trap of hiring anybody. If they got a heartbeat, they're hired, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's the repercussion of that? And I know you don't do it. Why do you not do it?
That's a good question. So let me speak first to this. So at Aptive, one of the first things that we did when I went in as president with Tosh and Chase and Kyle, one thing that we did is we said, okay, we're gonna change the incentive structure so that if you do hire people that are poor performers, it does affect you.
Interesting.
So we aligned incentives.
Did you go off a PRA, per rep average, or what?
It's kind of a convoluted, complicated system.
Yeah.
But our partners understand it well.
Yeah.
And because they were more efficient, because they focused on hiring the right culture and they focused on production per rep versus just hiring at will.
Yeah.
They actually all made
Smart.
like twice as much, 3 times as much as they ever had.
So if we could extract a golden nugget from this, it's base incentives, not on reps, not on even production, but on per rep averages.
Yeah, efficiencies, right?
Efficiency, yeah.
Efficiencies.
Nice.
So one of the things that I've seen throughout the industry is that companies get into trouble because they're just hiring bodies
Yeah.
in order to try and get revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what if we could hire less bodies
Yeah.
and get more revenue with
Dude,
less bodies?
That's yeah.
And now you've got an efficiency, and what happens in a lot of these sales forces, especially in door to door, is these companies are taking on all the risk.
Yep.
And they're paying all the rewards to their sales force, which is great for sales reps.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're wasting so much money. And we've seen, we could name dozens of businesses that have just totally collapsed or just aren't, they're shells of themselves because they don't do things efficiently. So when it comes to hiring, and let's say that, for example, that you're in a situation at a company where there is no risk for you in your pay structure and you're able to hire anybody. Eventually it comes back to bite you, mainly just because it pollutes your culture and it's hard to recruit more A performers when you've got a bunch of C's and D's that are putting on revenue for you. The A's and B's aren't attracted to be there anymore.
Exactly.
And it just kills you long term. Short term, you might be able to get like a giant.
You might make more than a short
revenue.
Yeah.
But long term, if you can't create leadership, you have no ability to scale.
Yeah.
And I've seen it time and time again with our with companies in the space. Is the scalability isn't there because there's just not enough leadership, and you can't attract leadership when you don't have anything to attract them with.
Exactly. Well, dude, it's I think it's it's giving the harder no up front to get the long-term win, and that the harder no is turning people away, trimming the fat, for us this last year, I could have recruited 10 guys or so just doing solar out in Utah. We had two. It was just me and one other guy, and I was still reluctant to bring one other guy on. I'm like, I'm going to focus on me, build myself, and become the man I want to become, change myself a lot, and crush my financial goals and create a system to duplicate myself. And with just two of us, I allowed one guy. We absolutely, our numbers were the two of us did equivalent to the average what 25 out here would do. And so what's happened because of that is not only a lot less stress and less babysitting, but now we're able to attract higher level people and not just BC players, but like A players to build a team of 20 plus. And then you know where that goes if we can maintain that
Yeah.
pace.
Oh, these guys got it figured out. I want to go work with these guys. They know
Exactly.
what they're doing.
And
Yeah.
so, but then, then the next thing for me, the next temptation is, oh, let's get just 20, 25, 20, 30 guys, you know, but I have to maintain the same discipline, trim down, have a smaller group to outperform. So one of our core values is not based on reps. It's based on results. That's it. Just keep things focused on results. And that doesn't just mean monetary, just results for your people. You know, if you build them up as leaders and just physically like what you're doing, I mean, why would they not want to be around you? You know?
Yeah, I mean, people look up to you for your sales results. They also look up to you for how you treat your family, for what you're doing on the physical end of things,
Yeah.
for how friendly you are, like what's your life like. Like there's many different things. Different people will look up to different things. And so
Yeah.
I always say if you're going to be a leader, you've got to be leading from the front in all aspects,
Yeah.
not just your, production aspects. This guy might be doing, a golden door every single year, but he is an adulterer, like
Yeah. It's not going to inspire anyone. Yeah.
or he might be, I don't know, a cheater,
Yeah.
in terms of the way he treats his people, or he steal, I don't know, does
Yeah.
drug. I mean, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to go like so like
No,
negative
no,
and
no.
in that in
It's
that
good.
lane, but
No,
like,
it's good.
um, and I'm not saying that, I don't ever want to like accuse anyone. Like I think every single person on earth deserves to be loved with the same amount of love, and every single person is valuable. What I'm getting at is that if you don't correct your mistakes and you're not trying to be the best you can be, you're not going to be able to lead in the way that you
Yeah.
can lead.
Yep.
People aren't going to follow you.
And dude, I've learned this the hard way. I've learned this the hard way where, if you're not pushing yourself in all these areas of your life, your people will see. And the way I've seen it is, you know, you have to be the dumbest person in the room to some extent. If you're not growing, and if you're leading an organization, you can't rely on just your organization and where you're at to keep growing. You have to reach out, which usually requires capital to get in high level masterminds or groups or just like network with people, you know. And for me, it's been this realization of wow, like I've really got to just maintain this, be the dumbest guy in the room, and no matter where our careers take us, like that's a big focus on mine, because if I can develop myself and I keep growing myself, my people around me have something to pursue as well, you know. And this is not me saying, hey, I've got it right, Donnie. It's just I found something that I've like it's kind of like an addiction for me, is the pursuit of excellence in every area of my life. And I do it selfishly, but the fact that it has dividends for business is just a side benefit, you know.
Yeah.
And more so for the people, because if you, this is one thing my manager taught me, is if you want to, the more you invest in your people outside of your work, the more buy-in that they'll have and the more appreciation they'll have, which it goes full circle. They'll perform better if they fill their cup, you know, mentally,
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, relationships, spiritually. They'll be able to fill other cups, sell, recruit. You know, I think that sales desperation of the commission breath comes out in recruiting. It comes out in selling. It comes out in managing. You know, micromanaging reps. And I think if we can just take care of ourselves and invest in ourselves and forget and just go all in on you for dude, just 6 months, you'll transform. You'll transform into somebody that will track so much more success. And this goes in line with, you know, Jim Rohn, right?
Hmm.
Mentor Tony Robbins, the
Yeah.
father of sales and personal development. He said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And if you do so, because if you just work on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune.
Yeah, because people will follow you, right?
Exactly.
And I think it's also really important to help people understand, no matter what you've done or where you've been or mistakes you've made, you can always improve, and there's always opportunity to get better. first thing. So it doesn't matter where you're
I
at.
like that.
You can start, you can change, you can make an impact. Second thing is everybody screws up
Yeah.
and nobody has it perfect,
Yeah.
right? Like we're all on this journey together. It's like a loop
Yeah.
and it kind of loops upward. And no matter, like, in fact, the more refined you get, actually, the more you realize that you have wrong and that you need to keep getting
Yeah.
better. But
Dude, can I just comment on that real quick?
yeah,
When I got divorced, it was heartbreaking. Like it just, that's a massive understatement, just soul shattering. And I was mostly at fault for it. And, with that, there was so much turmoil, so much pain with three kids. And the narrative is so much self-pity after that for, a while. And, but you can, no matter who you are, as I say this to be able to relate to other people, no matter what you've been through, no matter where you're at, what mistakes you've made, you don't just have the opportunity to turn around. You have the opportunity to change your life and then inspire others who are that low.
totally.
That's what got me up, Donnie, was saying, hey, look, so a lot of ways before I was put up on a pedestal, and a lot of it was a facade because everything else in my life wasn't put together, and I'm okay with that now. And, my thing is inspiring people that, hey, if you're not perfect, that's okay. Like you can turn it around. And if you invest in yourself, it will have dividends in everything else. Like if you're pursuing your sales goal and you feel like you're sacrificing everything else, that's okay. We get it, but stop, because eventually you're going to run dry. And yeah, and run dry could mean a lot of things. So
The
yeah,
piper has to get paid at some point.
yeah,
But I think one of the coolest things about the universe, and God, I would call it God,
yeah.
is that no matter what we do, he's able to fix it and turn it into something positive for
Yeah.
everybody else and yourself,
I love
which
that, man.
is so cool that there's like this redeeming principle of humanity.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, where you've gone, you can turn it around and be inspiring. So thank you
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
kind of
man.
like spurring that thought.
Yeah. Well, it's
So
interesting about, like, I feel like our world needs more authenticity and just being more real. And this is, my girlfriend has really helped me with this so much. But empathy, it's related to empathy too. And if you can be real, not put off a facade, you can connect with other people more, you know,
absolutely.
and which means you'll have more influence, selling, recruiting, everything. So it's a win-win, and you'll just feel better about yourself.
Totally. You'll be able
So
to develop people and
yeah,
you can develop people in order to help them to kind of mold into the person that you think that they can be or that maybe their potential is. And then you also have the ability to recruit people to wanting to be, wanting to improve, wanting to get better. I think one of the things that we run into in our industry is we always recruit with the commission, the commission breath is what I
yeah,
think you called it.
yeah. What do you
You,
do?
you
What do
know,
you do to aid that?
yeah, yeah. So, oh, we want commission, or oh, we're gonna make this money, or oh, we want to get these guys, or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
And if you can recruit from an angle of wanting to develop people,
Mm,
wanting to help people grow, if you can recruit from an angle of wanting to teach people and influence people, you're gonna attract people that are desiring that.
yeah.
If you recruit from an angle of just wanting money, you're going to recruit people that just want money.
Yeah.
And totally fine. A lot of those people are really talented, but what ends up happening is they just leave. They just leave you
Yeah.
for whoever,
Yeah. Who pays them the highest?
yeah. And
Yeah.
it might not even be who actually pays the highest. It's just like a percentage or a not,
Yep.
like there's so much more to earnings than just like
Dude, preach.
the percentage.
Yeah.
Like there's the work that goes into it. There's
Yeah.
all the metrics that go into it. There's the leadership with you, right?
Yeah.
And if you're recruiting to a culture and not to a percentage or whatever or a commission, then you're going to attract the right kind of people.
Yeah.
And you should be empathetic with people that, like, I'll be honest with you, there's people that come into my office and you can just smell the greed in them, right?
Yeah.
And there's a difference between greed and ambition.
Mm,
Okay? I want ambitious guys.
yeah.
I love ambitious sales
Yeah.
reps. Greedy reps, though, it's like, I'm going to be a little more careful with this. And then, so the question becomes, can I develop this person? Can I influence this person?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you really can't.
Dude, I know exactly what type of person you're talking about. I call it vain ambition. It's where they want something big. Like you have two types of people. Most people want something great, but you have those that want it and want to put the work in. Like I've learned I can't, even if I get something great, financial, whatever it is, but I didn't pay a price to get it, I don't appreciate it. And it's not just me, that's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There's I know I don't know the exact stories about Olympic athletes, but I've heard so many times that they'll do the train for, the Olympic games, and then once they're done, they just feel so unfulfilled. it's kind of like when you get to retirement and you just stop working. It's like, well, what am I doing now?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the point? So
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny you say that. Going back to Ironmans,
yeah,
right? Like training in an Ironman is so exhausting and it's such a grind. You have to
yeah.
get up at a certain time every day.
How long did it take you to train for your first?
I started training in January and I did my first one in April. So it
Okay.
took me 3 months. I don't know
That
how it,
sucks.
I don't know how it like it. You want to know why? Is I was
uh,
consistent. So my first week, I was swimming and I was like, I'm gonna drown. Like I'm literally gonna drown. And I had signed up for a half, and it was when the Iron Cowboy was doing his
yeah,
100 Ironmans or whatever. He did
yeah.
101, and on his 51st, they asked a bunch of people to do it with him, and so I was like, okay, I'll do a full, full. And so it was an official event,
Yeah,
but yeah, I did the full with the Iron Cowboy on his 51st.
that's awesome.
After training for 3 months, but it was because I was consistent, right?
Mm,
And so yeah, when you finish an Ironman, there's definitely an endorphin release and a dopamine release, but what you appreciate is all the training.
yeah,
You actually don't appreciate the event that much. You appreciate like
yeah.
what you went through to be able to accomplish
Who
the
you
event.
became in the process is what I like to
Yes, and
say.
that's so true when it comes to work too. I mean, Aptiv had our best year ever from a per rep standpoint in 2023. And when we did it, we hit our revenue mark. I remember looking at the other presidents being like, hey, we did it.
We
And
did it.
I thought we'd be pouring champagne on each other,
Yeah,
and it was like, all right, so let's start next year,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yep,
but
yeah,
you look back on everything that we did to accomplish the goal. That's where like the true joy comes from. That's where the memories come from.
yeah. I love that.
I don't even remember the day that we hit our revenue mark last year,
Yeah,
but I remember all of like the lead up to it,
yeah,
you know. So anyway, it's all interrelated. Like you can find the same. So one of the reasons why I say you should look at every part of your life and set goals in it is because you can find the same principle
yep,
in each part,
yep.
and you learn it in a different way. So
Mm.
like your knowledge becomes layered,
Oh, I like that.
and you become more sophisticated,
Uh,
and you almost become more wise,
yeah,
if that
absolutely,
makes
Donnie.
sense.
Yeah, I think when you could find the underlying principles that guide, different types of success, whatever that is to somebody, but you can find the underlying principles. I think that's when seeing different, hit a goal in this area of my life or hit a goal here, financially versus physical, in striving for those, you'll notice different trends of, like, for example, consistency, discipline, hard work, whatever it is. And so, I remember being on the jet with my mentor, like, and asking, just drilling him with questions. Like, I got this guy 1-on-1, like, he's not going anywhere. I'm like blasting with questions. Every time asked him a question, Donnie, he would always reply by not just answering the question, but by teaching me a principle
Mm-hmm.
about it, so that he's
It's a
just,
good mentor.
yeah, right. Yeah. So after about 50 questions, I caught on. I'm like, okay, I was annoyed at first, but now I'm so grateful because, people ask, oh, is he still mentoring you actively? I'm like, he doesn't need to. He taught me how to fish.
Yeah.
And, and so,
Oh, that's so good. That's
yeah.
beautiful.
And so I've used it to transform my health, my income, my relationships. And dude, it's amazing how much can change just from this principle of, like, pushing to do different things in different facets of your life.
You should write them down. So practice that I've gotten
Mm.
into is at the end of the week, I write down the things that I feel like I learned,
Oh, I love that.
even if it's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
And I don't always write down a lot, but I just write down a couple lines. Like, what did I learn from the books I read? What did I
Oh,
learn from the
dude, that's
podcasts I
money.
read?
Yeah.
What did I learn from reflecting in the morning? Every single morning, I drive in a car to the gym, and it's silent. I don't listen to music. I don't get jacked. I don't get
Yeah.
pumped up. I just think.
Mm.
I think. I pray. I'm in silence, and then I write that stuff down,
Mm.
and that will increase your ability to learn at a faster rate.
Yep, absolutely.
And when you start learning at a faster rate and you start discovering those principles, it multiplies your success, and
It
you get
does.
quicker and better, and you make more gains, you make more progress.
Dude, I think people just listen to podcasts like this. They listen to audiobooks. They read stuff. They just go through it so fast in today's world and social media.
Absolutely.
And it's like they're absorbing so much, but how much are they retaining?
Well, it's just surface level stuff.
Yeah.
What it ends up becoming is, oh, I got to be successful. I got to be successful,
Yep.
which is fine. And then everybody wants to pivot. Oh, this guy's doing this, or this guy's doing this, or this guy's
Yeah.
doing this, or this guy's doing this. It's like, well, let's take a step back. Okay, let's look for the principles within what each of these, you know, successful people are saying.
Yeah.
How can you apply that to what you're currently doing or what you're most passionate about
Yeah.
right now, so that you're not constantly looking for something
Bingo.
new?
Something specific. It could be something small that you can take action on. I love that. Dude, one thing when I read stuff, I've slowed down actually, and I read what not like a hey, I'm read 10 pages today. It's I'm gonna read until I find something that I didn't know, and I'll keep going. And then it teaches my brain to study differently.
I
And then
like that.
and I study so that I can teach other people, which I think is the highest form of retention when you study that way. So I'm gonna steal your golden nugget, dude. Do
I
that
love
every
that.
week. I
Love
do
that.
that. I do my little Sunday planning. I think I'm gonna start doing that
Yeah,
when I do it, just
it's a
reflection.
it's a part of Sunday planning. You know, everybody kind of plans their week out, looks at their goals, reviews them, that whole thing. But I think the most rewarding part for me when I Sunday plan is just writing down what I learned, and I try to do it every day actually. So I have a separate journal where at the end of the night. So I'll kind of tell you my night routine.
Yeah, sir.
It might be cool, might not be cool. So I put my keys in this little teeny drawer where like you put paper clips inside of one of those little like pen
Yeah.
holder things. And the reason I do that is because it's my cue to make sure that I journal before I head home for the night.
Mm,
Okay, otherwise I forget. Oh, I gotta go home, and you just bounce, right?
yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's my keys in there. Okay, can't leave till I do this.
Nice.
And I write down a couple things that I thought went well for the day, a
Nice.
couple things that I think I probably could have done better, and then a goal to improve the next day.
Nice.
Sometimes, like if I have more time, I'll write down. I'll kind of score myself on how patient I was,
Mm,
how kind I was, and how focused I was
wow.
on like a 1 through 5 scale. And I'll kind of review those every once in a while. But the reason that I do that is because, you know, for example, you're in recruiting meetings all day or
Yeah.
whatever,
It
right?
just goes, goes, goes.
Or
Yeah.
you're in meetings with like your different departments for strategy, you know, whatever. And when you actually reflect on the day, it's like, oh, in that moment I could have asked a better question.
Yeah.
Or in that moment I was a little bit grumpy. Why was I a little bit grumpy right there? Well,
Yeah.
because I didn't do this right in the morning, and so it kind of caused me to like have mental fatigue.
Yeah.
Or or that that moment, that meeting, I wasn't authentic. Why wasn't I authentic in that meeting? Why wasn't I real? Why was I feeling kind of rushed? Well, because this and this happened. And so you can start to strategize how you're gonna, you know, build your day, and you can find points where you fall off the wagon, or where you kind of get distracted or you get messed up.
Mm,
So every day is like game day, right?
yeah.
So by doing that, it's like reviewing film almost,
Yeah.
but you're not reviewing film for a sporting event. You're reviewing film for how did you execute your day.
Yeah.
And that, and as you compound that over
Oh,
time,
it's
you
amazing.
get super skilled at what
Yeah.
you do.
Well, dude, very few people like set out every day with direct intentions on how they're trying to move that day towards a goal. And you
So
don't have to have a sales job or be an entrepreneur. You can have a goal, but wake up in the morning, have an intention, and then analyze and reflect at the end of the day. Simple thing.
so here's what's crazy. So that's my work journal.
Okay.
So then I take the key out, right? And what I realized is when I went home for the night, I was
Yeah.
on my phone. And I'm not perfect at this. Sometimes I
Yeah.
still go home and I get
Same.
on my phone, okay?
Yeah.
But what I noticed is that when I went home, I wasn't prepared or in the mental state to be with my family or my
No, I
kids,
love that, Donnie.
okay? So I started doing this with the key on purpose to close my day out. And then I put music on and I put my phone inside my glove compartment. I'm not
Mm,
texting while driving when I'm going home.
yeah.
I'm using that time to like get in the zone to be a dad when I get home.
Nice.
So I go home, I put my phone in a drawer in my office. And again, I want to emphasize I'm not perfect at this.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be perfect at it.
I
You
agree.
just got to win more days than you lose.
I
And
like that.
eventually you win 99% of the days.
Yeah.
But I put my phone in my office. I eat dinner with my wife. I try to hang out with the kids. I try to put them to bed. Again, not perfect all the time, but I'm getting better. And it's been so much more rewarding at home because I don't have the distractions of work at my phone. And then around 8:39, when everybody's in bed and everybody's away, then I'll go back down to my office. I'll get my phone out and I'll work again till, you know, 10, 11 o'clock.
Dude, I love it.
But and then I'll sometimes write things down from like the family aspect too.
Yeah.
Just kind of having that reflection, because those are the two most important things, or
Yeah.
two most time consuming things in my life right now.
Yeah.
But that's how I end my day. That's how the end of my night goes. And the end of your night is just as important as the beginning of your morning, because your night influences your morning.
Mm,
So again, this whole thing goes back to watching film, right? Oh, I'm not present at home. Why am I not present at home? Well, I'm on my phone.
Mm,
Okay, what can I do? Put the phone away. Okay. Oh man, I'm not getting up on time to do my swim sessions for my Ironmans. I'm really inconsistent right now. Well, reflect. Let's watch the film. Well, you stayed up till 11:30, midnight, sometimes 1 doing A, B, or C thing.
yeah,
And okay, delete that. Like
nice.
let's iron that out. Let's iron the evening out so in the morning you're fresh, right? And so when you watch film or you journal down what you're learning, what you're noticing, you're able to adapt and you're able to get a lot more efficient on accomplishing what your goals are.
So money, dude. So much gold there. So many things unpacked there. Dude, from my experience, and like that is directly related to everything with sales goals, everything. I mean, it's so amazing, Donnie. Thanks for sharing that, dude.
Yeah, no problem.
Seriously awesome.
It's a valuable thing. I feel
It
like
is.
that's like one of my secret sauces,
Yeah. So I was
So
just at a 10X conference and with Cardone and Brandon Dawson. I went there. I say I have a filter up because I have to filter out most of this crap. But I know there's golden nuggets that they have that I don't know. And so I'm trying to extract those that still align with my principles. And one of them was he said, "Hey, my success has come down to this, like his success, waking up every day, setting the target, and then at the end of the day, reflecting and reviewing where am I at."
hmm
And in a sense, that is exactly what you're doing at a very deep level, and it's amazing, and it's so proactive. Like I've been through the same things where I've I set my phone aside, and sometimes you kind of loosely pull back in. And what you don't realize is there's a compound effect of that extra 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes of just partial attention with that person has a compounding effect on your relationship, and then it'll affect everything else. And
totally.
that's with a very like competent partner. And so I've seen it
Yeah,
affect me. And so I love that. That's amazing advice, dude. Can I pick your brain before we wrap up on recruiting?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about like if we try to break it down into three phases. Okay, like for a new guy trying to recruit friends, like strategies, and then let's say you did pretty well, and then next phase building a team, and then building multiple teams. Or would you have a better way to kind of organize?
Yeah, let's go through those. So if I'm a new guy trying to recruit just a group of friends, so I'm not the team leader necessarily. I'm
Yeah,
just kind of going out for
yeah,
a summer or going out with a company, and I
yeah,
want to build a group of 5 or 6 maybe or something
yeah.
like that. I think so. I always break people up into different groups. So you have your ride or dies.
Okay,
They're your friends who are your ride or dies,
yeah,
and you need to get them into a meeting with whoever your manager is right away,
mm,
as soon as possible.
okay,
Okay. Then you have your friends that you haven't talked to as much, and then you have your acquaintances who you haven't talked to for a while. With those people, you want to ask them for the maximum commitment that you think they will give you, and they will say yes.
what do you
Eh,
mean maximum commitment?
So some people you might like. Let's say you're talking to an acquaintance. They might,
Okay,
if you reached out and were like, "Hey, I'm doing sales. I want you to do a meeting with my manager." They might say, "No, I don't
yeah,
want to do
no,
that."
I see, but like a lunch or like
Yeah, a
be
lunch
down to talk on the
or
phone.
an activity or whatever it
Nice,
is. So, and I'm focusing mostly on network recruiting
yeah,
because that's how I kind of came up was within network recruiting. Now there's all sorts of different things when it comes to leads,
yeah.
lead gen, Instagram, career fairs, all that stuff.
What have you seen work for guys
There's
the
a
most?
million ways that you can do it. The way I did it was through
Got
networks.
it. Cool.
And the reason that I did it that way is because I found I could get more A's and B's that way.
Mm,
I have to filter through so many
true.
C's and D's to get to the A and B.
I like
And
that.
what's funny is the people that sign massive amounts of people through leads and through Instagram and through career fairs, I
Yeah.
feel like they have less A's and B's than I did, but because I just find them quicker. I never signed massive amounts of reps compared to other people, but my reps would always do more than the everybody else's because they were A's and B's,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So that's just a philosophy that I believe in.
okay.
But there's a million ways you can do it.
Yeah. How do you
So
identify like an A or B player for sales?
good question.
Let's
So
hit on that.
in my first meeting, when I am potentially hiring someone, first off, I never hire someone in one meeting.
Yeah.
There are lots of people that
Oh
are
yeah.
like, hey, here's sales, here's money you can make. And they're like, oh, yeah, I want to sign up. Okay, cool. Here's the paperwork. I
Uh,
never do it.
yeah.
And the reason why is because I want to evaluate and figure out how serious they are. And I want
Yep.
to evaluate and figure out if they're an A, B, or a C player.
Nice.
So I will give them an assignment at the end of my first interview. And I'll say, hey, I want you to get really clear on what your goals are,
Nice.
really clear on, the plans that you have to accomplish those goals,
Yeah.
and what are some opportunities that you feel like you might have to accomplish those things. If they come back and they've done them, what are they?
Mm.
Are they an A or a B?
Okay.
If
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
done them,
Yeah. It gets on their A player.
yeah, what are their goals like? How ambitious are they? How detailed are their plans? Okay, how bad do they want it? If they don't do it at all, well, are they an A player? Even
Yeah.
if they come off all charismatic and talented,
Yeah.
like,
I've hired those guys where you think they're an A player, but it's not.
you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So just doing that exercise, I get a really good feel if they're good or not. The second meeting is all about expectation setting and all about making what what about working with you specifically is the exclusive thing that you offer, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about kind of setting up the path.
Nice.
Okay.
So
So
pre-framing.
yeah. So
Yeah.
with an A player, you're setting up the path for what leadership in your organization looks like.
Ah.
If it's B, you're probably setting a little bit lower expectations.
Yeah.
C, even lower, right?
Yeah.
You set those expectations, you show the vision, you show the model. Okay. Then you just have it. At that point, you send them an agreement, have them read it and review it, and then your third meeting, you're either signing them, resolving objections, whatever it might be.
Nice.
That's my process.
It's amazing.
And I stick to it and I teach it. And the reason I like that process, I can teach it to a bunch of people.
You can
And
duplicate it.
teach them how to do it. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that,
Exactly.
Donnie. It's powerful, dude.
So that's probably more for a team leader.
Yeah.
First year recruiter, just get people in with your manager.
Yeah.
And then take care of them, be the relationship guy, be friends with them, train them like crazy. Okay. Team leader, learn how to do your meetings, learn your process for how you hire. And then third level, division manager or regional, whatever it might be, as you start to scale past one team, can you duplicate that process with other people? And then you're not training people anymore how to sell, you're training people how to recruit.
Mm.
And that's a key change.
Oh yeah.
You're no longer the salesperson.
Especially yeah.
Now you're training how to hire.
Mm.
And the more that you can train people how to hire, get them good at that process, the more and more people you're going to have. And then strategically just monitor it.
Which I would say, dude, is somewhat like, it's for me, it's a lot of it is selling. Not like, hey, I'm trying to get you on, like try to sell you on it. But for me, influence and selling is asking the right questions and guiding somebody to a win-win opportunity.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean?
the way I look at it is like pest control, especially, it's a very transactional,
Yeah.
like,
And selling in that regard is definitely different.
yeah. You're closing.
It's
right?
higher pressure wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Solar, potentially roofing. I'm not really familiar with roofing too much, but it's more of a B2B relationship style sell where you have to have a lot of follow-up.
Right. So in that sense, it's similar.
And recruiting is the same. Recruiting is all about, I actually read a lot of business to business books in order to develop my recruiting and hiring process.
Nice.
Because business to business is all about a long-term relationship when you sell.
Yeah.
And the second thing that people don't realize is recruiting is all about leadership.
Okay.
If you're the better leader, you almost always win.
Interesting.
You'll almost always win, and you'll almost always save your recruit when they want to leave to a different company.
So this goes back to our whole conversation here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. Recruiting is all about B2B skills and leadership.
And attracting, not selling. It's amazing, Donnie.
Yep.
I like that, man. So gold. Are you asking mostly asking questions throughout those recruiting meetings?
Absolutely.
What are some of the key ones you ask?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the first one.
Yeah.
The first meeting, like key questions that really move it
if you
for
could have one key breakthrough this year, what would it be?
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does life look like? Okay. What are things that you're passionate about?
Okay.
How do you spend your time?
Mm.
How do you spend your time pursuing those passions? The first meeting is all about figuring out who the person is, what they want.
Yep.
And then the second meeting, or really the end of the first meeting, is kind of figuring out how to hook them. Like, okay, I think I have a way to help you accomplish your goals.
Nice.
I think I have a way for you
Which
to double
genuine.
down on what you're passionate about.
Yeah, because you've heard them out. You see where they want to go, and you see, I see how this could potentially align.
Exactly. Then your second meeting is all about proving it.
Nice. Okay, so you're setting expectations, showing them here's basically how we would do this.
Yes.
Here's what you told me you want. Here's how I see a way to help you get what you want.
Exactly.
I like that.
And then everything from there is just managing concerns.
Some
people don't have any, and some people have big ones.
Yeah. Nice. I like it, man.
Yeah.
It's money.
And it's just that's the process. And you just, like I said, I've said this over and over again, you just teach it to everybody else.
Yeah.
And then everybody else follows the same process. And what I like about that is oftentimes you'll have someone who who, so there's multiple layers of leadership oftentimes in these organizations, right?
Yeah.
So you have this beginning team leader who may do a meeting and then they escalate it to their manager. And then they're like, man, this guy's really hard to land, but we've got to get him because he's talented. And it escalates to, the
Yeah.
president or the regional or whatever it is. What I like about that process is you just ask him, hey, what meeting is he in?
Huh.
Oh, he's in his third meeting. Cool. I know it's about objections.
Interesting.
I don't have to redo the first and the second.
Yeah.
Like that process has been done. I know right where they are in the process.
There's something they're
Hey,
held up
review
on.
the first meeting for me. Review the second meeting for me. They can review it. Now I know exactly where he's at, and I know exactly where to jump in because I've taught the process.
Nice.
And I know the process better than anyone.
Oh, that's cool.
So when they come
when
in,
they bring it,
I know exactly where we're at in the process. I'll
That's
review
cool,
step 1, step 2, kind of get on the same page, and then boom, we're off to the races. So
very nice.
So there's it just creates seamless communication between all of the recruiters in the organization for that individual rep.
That's very nice. I love that.
So
that's awesome.
Anyway,
dude,
yeah,
freaking gold.
Dude, hopefully,
super gold.
Hopefully, everybody gets some value out of that.
Oh, absolutely. They're lucky if they listen to this. Well, bro, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I know you got to get rolling.
Yeah,
we both got to get rolling. So appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Oh, Donnie, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, for me too. Seriously, it's good to see you again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Thanks.